we need to start this video with a legal disclaimer. Drugs are bad. You shouldn't do drugs. Okay, now that's out the way. Let's find out how to build a 30 billion empire selling cocaine. Because today, we're looking at one of the world's most successful self-made billionaires who was once ranked as one of the 10 richest people in the world. Built an empire from scratch? Yep, it's drug lord Pablo Escobar. At one point, Escobar was responsible for 80% of the world's cocaine worldwide and was spending $500 a month on rubber bands just to hold together his stacks of cash. He reportedly burnt $2 million one night just to keep his daughter warm, and at his children's parties, he'd fill the piñatas with cash instead of candy. The question is, how does one man get to that point? And are there any lessons we can take away from all this and actually apply in our own legal businesses or projects? Welcome to another video at Businessmain. Let's dive in. As a young guy, Escobar always had grand aspirations. He's quoted as saying, "I want to be big." And initially, he intended to become the president of Colombia. But he dropped out of school because he didn't have enough money to pay for it. And that's believed to have been a pivotal moment in the direction of his life, as his desperation for money led him to a life of crime. But he worked his way up. He started by stealing things, then he started smuggling weed, and then eventually he set his eyes on something even bigger, the cocaine market. I guess weed really is a gateway drug, but after working for other drug traffickers, he allegedly ordered the murder of one of the leaders of one of those other operations so he could take his place. Escobar then realized that there was more and more demand for cocaine in America, and whilst in Colombia 1 gram sold for 10, on the beaches of Miami, he could get 500 per gram. So our first lesson from Escobar is about continually looking for new opportunities and markets, because he literally 50x'd his price with that move. Grant Cardone, eat your heart out. Escobar then began expanding the business rapidly. Before he took over, they were using mules to smuggle coke over internationally in suitcases on commercial airlines. But under Escobar's leadership, they started flying their own planes filled with coke straight to America. They reportedly also used submarines and even blended it into legitimate products like cocoa and wine that could then be chemically extracted once they'd arrived. So, they had a bunch of different ways to distribute their product, meaning they were never reliant on one single channel. And so our second lesson is about having a strong distribution network, because this is one of the biggest reasons for Escobar's success. Not only did this allow him to transport huge quantities of his product at low prices, because he had so many different routes to get it there, but his distribution network also became a standalone source of revenue for Pablo, as it was so good that his competitors paid him to ship their goods as well. But by owning the entire supply chain in this way, he drastically increased his profits and gave him all the control. So, speaking of control, this leads us to our third lesson from Pablo, how he carefully controlled his brand image. Everyone has a brand image, the accumulation of how you're perceived and what you're associated with. Yep, despite his plethora of criminal offenses, Escobar crafted a very positive image with many people. One way he did this was using some of his money to win over the general public. He built community projects like sports facilities and houses for the poor. In fact, some people even made comparisons between him and Robin Hood. He also reportedly treated his employees exceptionally well, with plenty of perks and no upper limits on the amount of earnings they could make. And whilst all of this may sound kind of generous, crafting this kind of brand image undoubtedly helped him in many ways, not least of all in terms of security. But I think if you were able to ask Pablo himself for some advice, I think the lesson might be to focus on the product, and that's because Escobar said he never believed in lowering prices to be competitive, because if the product was of good enough quality, there was no need to sell it at a cheaper price. It would sell itself. Now, admittedly, if the product you're selling is quite literally addictive, that helps too. But I think the underlying message there of creating a product so good that it can sell itself and rely on word-of-mouth advertising. It's such a simple yet powerful approach to business, yet a lot of the time we're so focused on the sales or the marketing rather than building something that's great in the first place. However, I think the final and perhaps most crucial lesson to take from Escobar is not to rest on your laurels. It's easy, once you start having some success, to take your foot off the gas. You see this all the time with entrepreneurs. But if you have grand ambitions like Escobar did, continually looking at how you can take things to the next level is essential. Or, to use the slightly cliched quote, if you're not moving forwards, you're falling behind. What's undeniable is that Escobar had relentless perseverance and fully believed that big risks brings big rewards. So as you can see, Pablo did a great job with all of the 4 Ps of marketing. He demonstrated many classic entrepreneur traits and was kind of an innovator in his industry. However, whilst there definitely are some interesting business takeaways, I'm really not trying to glorify criminals here, so I really hope this video does not inspire you to become a drug lord. After all, Escobar's story ends with him getting shot, and all that money's not much use if you're dead or in jail. I do hope this video inspires you to try and build your own empire that changes the world for the better, and hopefully makes a lot of money in the process by remembering these 5 principles. And be sure to like and subscribe, as we have some seriously crazy episodes on the way. Thanks for watching. Cheers.